Well, hello everyone, and welcome to what is looking to me like the very last portion of this first Great Ace Attorney game. Previously, we established that Inspector Gregson, was secretly, covertly making deals with Ashley Graydon while this trial was ongoing. Something about procuring that second disc that stored government secrets. Gregson was spinning it as like he just wanted to do his job and had to be hush-hush about it because, well, just of how controversial? No. What's the word? Contraband? No. It's a thing for government secrets. Yeah. And now, we seem to have run into a dead end, and we have nothing else to hold against to Ashley. So it looks like the jury might be able to announce their opinions, and it's not looking good for us. No, not at all. So let's go. Confidential? Confidential! Yeah, that's it. I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leanings. Well now, as a fellow servant of Queen and Country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector.
Yes, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure. In service, one becomes a good judge of character.
Even crossing your eyes doesn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really.
Graydon is highly skilled operator. Stop. Curly in presence of idol. Stop.
Detective has very much trust in eyes. More than this, I cannot say.
I don't believe it. These 6 jurors are... They're going to believe Gregson. If they declare their decision now. Is Ginny gonna be found guilty?
If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then we're going to lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets. Or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, counsel, I think it's time I imposed on the jurors to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court. If I let the judge call on the jurors to announce their leanings, Gina will be found guilty.
So there's no choice then, Runo? You have to throw some more evidence at them.
This is it now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against? Gregson or Graydon? Oh, I can't stop looking at my one remaining health pip. Right, so leaving it to the jury, that's right out. We can discount this immediately. Now, evidence against Graydon. Look, if we had proof that he killed Windibank, this trial wouldn't even exist. It would just be over in an instant. Do we have proof, though, that he stole government secrets? I don't think we do either. We have a lot of info on what he did at that pawn shop, but nothing about what he does at his place of work. We can't prove that he, at his job, stole secrets. But Gregson... We just started putting the magnifying glass on this man. There's a lot of potential here. And honestly, we're in this dire situation right now, this last moment chance, because Gregson just tried to hurriedly change the subject and appeal to the jury to make their decisions. Gregson feels like he's in hot water. And I think I smell the blood in the water. Let's go after him. Inspector Gregson, there is one final piece of evidence I would like you to see. Huh? What's that, then? If you refuse to acknowledge that you did in fact strike a deal with the witness here today, then you leave us no choice but to examine this piece of evidence thoroughly. Well, go on. This is my last chance. Looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get this detective to admit to the deal he clearly struck with Graydon. Oh boy. So, I don't think we've ever used the story manuscript. We know that Gregson cares a lot about what is happening in here. And it's very peculiar that Herlock wanted this story buried. Maybe there's something in here that reflects poorly on Gregson. Is there anything I can learn from this? The Hound of the Baskervilles.
That's right, I used Daddy's notes to write it. I think it's a great story. I don't know why Hurley's forbid me to publish it.
No, it's strange, isn't it? Perhaps it's a problem with the title? Perhaps Mr. Sholmes is a family friend of someone that has that name or something?
Huh. Well, it doesn't have quite the same ring to it, but I could change it to The Hound of the Naruhodos.
I'm fairly sure that Mr. Sholmes is a friend of someone who has that name too. Wait, I always thought that Baskerville was a location, like a neighborhood, like the hound that stalks the streets of Baskerville. That's what I get for never reading that story. Admit that he struck a deal with Graydon. Did we ever use the case notes? No, this is really just about Gina's actions. I am well and truly stumped. It really doesn't help that it's been like 24 hours since I last recorded this game, so my train of thought is just now getting back up to speed. Oh boy. Wait a second. Well, this has to do with the Scotland Yard boys, but no, it seems unrelated to Gregson and his deal. Admit to the deal he struck with Graydon. What could... The problem is, I don't know if I even chose the correct answer in the first place. Maybe I should have chosen to target Ashley. Would I also get this far and get to this ability to show evidence there too? Maybe I just barked up the wrong tree already, and no matter what I select here, it's already gonna be wrong. I don't know. It's just such a Hail Mary to pick the manuscript, but out of everything I'm looking at here, it really does feel like the only thing it could possibly be. We've never used it, and Ryunosuke said that we need to look at it in detail, which is something we haven't done with the manuscript yet. We don't know what's inside it. Plus, if it is the manuscript, it could be that all those scenes of Gregson fawning over Iris and just sucking up to her could be leading to this. Like it was all foreshadowing for this one moment where the manuscript of hers is his big undoing. Screw it, we're trying it.
Take that!
What on earth is this, Council? Irrefutable proof, my lord, of the corrupt dealings that went on between these two men. Oh no, I already got it wrong, I can tell. Or perhaps, irrefutable proof of the corrupt workings of my learned friend's mind. Ugh. Really, Counsel, at this stage in the proceedings, I would have expected a more considered argument. The defense will be duly penalized. Wag! Thank you, Counsels. I've seen enough. According to the powers vested in me by Her Majesty the Queen, I declare no further examination necessary. As such, I shall be requesting the final decisions of the members of the jury. Are you all ready, Mr. Foreman? Absolutely, my good sir. Then please announce your findings to the court.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Uh-oh.
Guilty.
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 Welp. I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Uh-oh. Game over. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I applaud your considered and expedient deliberations. Court is adjourned. Whoops. Let's retry. This is my last chance, again. It looks like I'm going to have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get this detective to admit to the deal he clearly struck with Graydon. Oh! Wait, I have 5 health points again? The hell? That's kinda lame. Man, so you can just restart at the very question you lost on, and you get all your health back? Man, so the game overs are just blows to the ego and nothing more. Well, that kinda sucks, but, well, okay, if the game let me respawn here, then that means I absolutely made the correct choice in choosing Graydon. Gregson, not Graydon. They're so similar. Well, what in the sweet hell is it? Could it be that by being the one to recover the disc, he would get, like, a bonus, a reward? Can we say that's his motivation, and if he doesn't admit to it, he can't get it? The paper.
Take that!
Yeah, no. Okay, maybe I'll get a little line here. They only struck that deal at the very last possible moment when they were in the stand. What's more, there's no love lost between them, clearly. It was strictly business.
If you think about it, murder and treason are both such serious crimes.
Yes, punishable by death.
So I don't think old Silky's going to admit it to either anytime soon, do you?
No, but Gregson, on the other hand, he is just refusing to admit to what happened because he's been sworn to secrecy, out of a sense of duty.
I wonder, if Gregsy's lips are sealed because he's determined to do his duty, then perhaps to prise them open, you're going to have to be determined enough to do your duty too, Runo.
Of course, he'd do anything to follow his orders, so... The jury has indicated its readiness to declare its final findings. I urge you to consider this as your own final deed in this trial, Counsel. Because I just started recording, I absolutely could just cancel recording right now and start over from my save file and pretend this never happened, but no, I really don't like doing that. I own up to my failings. What the hell do I... Is it the disc? Is that he really wanted the disc?
Take that!
Oh, okay. Is that Mr. McGilded's music box disc, Counsel? Yes, the first disc of 2, which has already been placed in Mr. McGilded's special music box ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Oh, because we never actually did conclusively prove to the court that it is indeed the Morse code. Right. Only this time, with the second disc we've just discovered set in place as well. Goodness, this disc, Counsel.
Hold it!
No, wait! I can't let you do that. Why not? Because it's got nothing to do with this case, that's why.
Objection!
Not true, Inspector. Huh? The defense has already proposed that the sounds heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that Morse code comprises the 2 distinct tones. The defense believes that the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. For crying out loud, Sunshine, we're talking about state secrets here. If you go letting the whole courtroom hear confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit the charge? That in order to protect those state secrets, you engaged in unlawful dealings with the witness? You're mad. If you let that secret information out into the public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot.
Objection!
Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leaked confidential case details to a witness. That you continue to lie to the court, and all because, by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare! I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. My lord, if you please, the court must hear the sounds made by that music box. Come on, Van Zieks, for Pete's sake, stop them!
Objection!
Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor. I'm no Scotland Yard puppet. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth, by fair means or foul. He likes it. No! Very well. The defense's stance here and that of the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defense's request, The court will now listen as the music box is set in operation once more. This time with the second disc in place and both discs playing simultaneously. What a great camera angle. Damn. Oh, listen to that. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. Oh, okay. There's gotta be a translation for that, right? I don't know Morse code at all. I couldn't even tell you what SOS is. Which is probably something I should learn at the bare minimum. But I wonder what it actually reads. Let's see, what did he just say? All right, I admit it. Whatever you want, but for the love of God, shut that bloomin' box up! Let me ask you again then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music box disc? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector? I did. Stop! What are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial was resumed after the recess, and we were stood here in the stand together, that's when he approached me with a deal. Shut up, you imbecile! Shut up! Psst, you there. You're the detective who turned up at the pawnbrokery the other day, aren't you? I may have something you're looking for, Inspector, with me at this very moment. So how about a trade? I suggest you accept. Or information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon become very public indeed. I couldn't let that information become public knowledge, not under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal and told him details about the case that should have put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door and the bloodstains on the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. Yet you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. But then it turned out the peephole had only been made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime. Namely this. You are the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windebank. You... Traitor! Uh-oh. Whoa! Hey! Someone stop him! Bailiff? Bailiff! Restrain that man! At once! That's it then. It's all over. I despised my life growing up. Those slums are vile places. Oh, is this Graydon? I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole.
And you eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination.
But then you decided to try to sell government secrets. Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. Then one day I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend with a queer talent, so you are. I've money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me little plan now. I was to steal the ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. As I was responsible for inspections of the ministry's communications office, it was a simple enough task. The lure of the devil's offerings. How easy it is to succumb.
But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing.
And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure that my actions were untraceable. By using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, but my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yes, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right, he was very skilled with his hands. He'd once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagined his skills would be sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code. So I sought out my father again to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one in my memory, a thin, frail old man. But poverty had never broken him, never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure that he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. I've got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made. Music box discs, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I brought the score with me. There are 2, actually. I'd be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? They're in the loft. That's how I had him make the 2 discs. Thereby splitting the information in 2. We were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in 2 separate transactions. The first involved the first of the 2 discs and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt of the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago? Was the second part of the deal? The exchange of the second disc? Yes. I'd sold the man information that way a number of times already. But it seems he became reluctant to part with his money.
But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. For why was it that on the omnibus 2 months ago, your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded and not yourself?
When I received 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious, and when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, you'll let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from the gilded. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the discs I'd asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of a monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name. To exact revenge. Revenge? As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man will no doubt be able to imagine, the Gilded brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. That trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into that hornet's nest completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I'd made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in the city willing to do anything you ask. McGilded himself had shown me that. Are you saying that? I think you have the picture now. He bought Van Zeek's. Right? After he twisted everything to his favor in the courtroom to ensure that he walked free, I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice that monster deserved. Oh. Yeah. That tragic accident following the trial here 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilded's death that day was caused by this man. Everything is ready, sir, if you'd like to follow me into the courtroom. What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe. I hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There were some changes to the schedule. Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. So that policeman who came to tell McGilded he could examine the omnibus again. That's right, an imposter hired by me. McGilded used his wealth to manipulate the trial. He paid people to adulterate the omnibus with all manner of false evidence. He threatened witnesses to lie in their testimony. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGilded inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. Didn't he break his cane earlier? An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death. A spine-chilling account indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see. A loose end? Yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc which my father had taken to exchange with McGilded.
Oh, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in the man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime.
When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of the 2 discs and the music box you need to play them. Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for you, young man. What's this? Windibank's pawnbrokery. Aye, 'tis a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for you. There's no need to give a name. Just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend the watchword. I've put a jewel in pawn for you. It'll fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will. I've never heard of a pawnbrokery being used in quite that way before. Have you not, Mr. Graydon? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault. So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere. And that on the night he killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yes, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Windibank's that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From the trial, that pickpocket's testimony was clearly peculiar. Anyone could see that. I realized immediately that she was another of McGilded's pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket. So I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. And he was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went to Windibank's to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilded's overcoat and the one disc that was in its pocket. The all-important music box with the second disc inside was missing. Because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secrets was progressing, we'd picked up on the fact that McGilded was involved. Inspector, you've recovered fast. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible. So we started gathering the fellow's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard, but we had to keep it as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere. So I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I'd located the music box I'd sold to McGilded on the shelves of forfeited articles. And the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But Then something entirely unexpected happened.
What are you doing in my shop?
A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly, but unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case.
Wait, did he say fortunately or unfortunately? Unfortunately, damn.
Before I knew what was happening, I had fired back. The man had already turned to flee. I hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge.
A sorry, sorry tale.
It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Windibanks on that wretched night. Earlier, you called McGilded a monster. A man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony, for what you have done is exactly the same thing. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded. Yes, I think I have.
Whew.
Boy, what a tale.
Huh. Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial, no kidding. However, it would seem that at last we have arrived at the truth. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon?
He's been restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Windibank and the stealing of government secrets.
Very good. And you, Inspector? Regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself.
Yes, my lord, of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable.
Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Yeah?
It is time for the final adjudication. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir. Garadeb Squadron standing by, sir. This is really it now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
that's the stuff, I'm off the hook. Finally, Runo, you finally managed to do it. Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world.
Miss Lestrade, I am not finished with you yet.
Huh? Oh, what are you looking at me like that for?
Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider,
Huh?
2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Windibank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilded's property, it seems.
Huh? I never done nothing of the sort.
Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilded's coat in your cell yesterday or anything.
Aw, just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening.
And turning our attention to the defense, determining that, when played together, the music box discs contained a message in Morse code was, well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, Counsel.
Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast to demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom. Very sorry about that. It was the only way that I could get Inspector Gregson to admit to what he's done, so... If I may say something on that point? Isn't that... Oh. It's, about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder if that was really Morse code at all.
What? What are you saying, madame?
Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact.
I suddenly look at her coat in a whole new light. And her tie. Oh man. Those are dots and dashes moving up to her head. And even the chain on her glasses. Oh, damn! What the hell? Okay. Goodness, madame, an unhealthy level of obsession one feels.
But I must say that in my opinion the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that. A meaningless series of two tones.
Is that a typo? Should that be series?
Two different tones.
What? What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all? Oh my god. Mason. He caught on, didn't he? And he gave McGilded fakes. My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again.
Are you off your nut? How many times do I have to tell you those discs contain ministerial secrets, Sunshine?
This courtroom is not an appropriate forum to discuss the nature of the government communications. We know McGilded conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further.
But it's really going to bother me.
Miss Lestrade.
Yeah, my lord?
That which you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to befall any child.
Come on, it ain't nothing I don't see most of my days in the back slums.
I beg your pardon?
If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you've gotta start at home. You've gotta change how you see yourself.
Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Windebank, proprietor of the pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty.
Yeah!
That's a fire hazard. That was a cute little touch. I guess we can add arson to our charges. That is all. Court is adjourned. Ooh.
On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my Far Eastern friend. Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretense and the malice that festered within that Englishman. And at the same time saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering your very different cultures. I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside. You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again here in the courtroom. You did? When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. What? Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew and try to understand. You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. Yeah, I thought Van Zieks thought that the secrets are stolen by the Japanese, but what happened exactly? Well, you may ask. And one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not. All right, then I'll wait for that day, if I must. Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, in my retirement from service 5 years ago, it gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again. What an interesting man. Well, that was the game making a promise to me that things are going to get interesting in this sequel. Oh boy. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? You know, I am also shocked that nothing came of Wagahai and the Russian man's mouse.
That's very weird, but okay. Ah, congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I knew that you were innocent.
Well, you did what you said, Mr. Naruhodo. You believed in me, right up to the end. You're as odd as they come.
What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I?
No one ever has before, see? Kept a promise, I mean. Properly.
That's awful.
I figured something out today. All me life, growing up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. Well, that's just 'cause I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down.
Yes, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in that trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know, though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently, too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do, and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson.
Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me, though.
I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure.
For crying out loud, pack it in. But I suppose I sort of feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, alright.
Thanks. This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Hey! But what the deuce does a man have to do to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Ah, that voice! It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Ah, yes, it was me all along. I would have said when you noticed me. But you people, with your incessant babbling.
Ah, Mr. Schultz.
Ah, yes, it was me all along. You see? I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh, brother. Oh. I happened to be aware of 1 or 2 foibles of the doctor who was tending to me. I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. Wow! How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat at you. Oh, thank you.
Huh. Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe.
Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade?
While you've been having a snooze in your nice soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives.
Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been feeling somewhat cold. Not perhaps as cold as ice, but Well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? And in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Miss Lestrade.
What's that supposed to mean? Why so half-hearted?
Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but an acquittal in a trial with that particular prosecutor is perhaps a little precarious. Oh, right. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest.
Oh, the Reaper, you mean? 'Cause anyone who's found not guilty in a trial he was working on winds up dead anyway, is that it?
The very point I was trying to make. As exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilded, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself.
Yeah, well, it don't bother me.
Oh, really?
Course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like him upstairs.
Him upstairs? You mean, like, God?
Yeah, him upstairs know what's what, right? He knows what people are like on the inside. He won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There's some coves like that bog-trotter what are rotten to the core. At the end of the day, him upstairs makes sure they get what they deserve.
I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another.
Well, I ain't like the McGilded of this world, so I ain't scared. I got principles, see?
A trait in you which is to be admired, Miss Lestrade.
Why, just give it a rest, all right?
As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina.
Well, there you are, Hurley. How long have you been here? Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there.
Iris, my dear, I do apologize. But wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made utter fools of themselves.
What happened?
As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolts didn't notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Would you credit it?
I'm not sure, really.
I beg your pardon?
I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day.
I'll be careful. Ouch.
Anyway, it's such a shame. I was so hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight. But you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm gonna be going nowhere for a while. You heard the judge's patter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offenses. What was it again? Breaking and entering? Taking the bog-trotter's stuff? What was in lug? Blah blah blah.
Yes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offense.
But diving ain't an offense. It's a job, isn't it?
I don't think so.
Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Otto?
Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket.
Well, anyway, I reckon I could make a change. I'm gonna do something for all them lot like me from the slums. Something that makes a difference for 'em. That's a wonderful idea, Ginny, and I'm sure you can do it. What is it? Nothing.
Miss Gina Lestrade? The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once.
Right. Well, looks like I'm off then.
Yes. Goodbye, Gina, and good luck.
Otto?
Yes? Arg! What was that for?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say, so...
Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Miss Lestrade.
Huh?
On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you.
Oh. Oh, yes, it's good advice, Ginny. Right, I see. Well... Thanks, Otto.
Aww.
Thank you for everything what you've done. For believing in me.
Well, ain't that nice? Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. Well, there she goes. Wonder if I'll ever see her again. Well, well, quite the indomitable pick purse.
Oh, I nearly forgot. I brought a paper outside. It's a special edition, and this trial is all over the front page. Pickpocket's innocence proven. Isn't it wonderful?
You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled.
Oh no, how silly of me. But anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news?
Not again.
Well, what do you say, Runo, Hurley?
As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news.
And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it?
Let's not go there. Oh man. That reminds me. Oh man. This happened a few years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, when I was like in my very early 20s, or maybe 19 or 18. Boy, for like my entire childhood and my teen years, I was an optimist. Whenever I saw a glass of water, I'd think half full. And then one evening, just your regular, calm, tranquil evening at home, I was just, speaking with my parents, and I forget the exact context, but I happened to look at a glass of water and say, that glass is half empty. And then the realization of what I had just said washed over me like a cold wave. I just felt like my insides turn over. I was like, oh my god, when did I become a pessimist? I've changed. I had an existential breakdown over that, man. Like, in hindsight, it's really funny, but my god, I was feeling some very powerful emotions over that. I think to this day I'm still a pessimist, by the way. It's who I am now. I think this world I live in is shit. Video games are my favorite escape because when I'm looking at the silly, colorful characters with the bright pink hair, I don't have to think about how much the world is shit. It's nice. Let's not go there.
Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record level of rainfall, apparently.
Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news?
The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailings out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more.
Wait, Dover?
That's right. If we head to the station immediately, we may still make it in time to wave Susie off.
Of course. That's how they're doing it. But, there won't be a train, surely. We couldn't be that lucky. Who do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes? I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for a special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner. And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. Ooh, fish. I don't... The great detective does it again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport director's foibles. What? I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive. Elementary. Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way.
What are we waiting for then? To London Victoria.
Wow, this is going to remind me a lot of the ending of Ace Attorney 2. I think that ended with a last-minute farewell at a train? Huh. Or was that... Yeah, I think that was the second game. Port of Dover, quayside. That took somewhat longer than I had anticipated.
Susie's boat must be about to leave now.
Miss Susato, where are you? Oh, hello. Over there, look. It looks like she's reading something.
Hold it!
Huh? Miss Susato, wait, what are you doing? What?
Mr. Naruhodo? What are you doing here?
We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that sailings are being delayed due to the bad weather, you see.
Oh, I see. Then tell me, how did Gina's trial go?
It went well. She was acquitted.
That's wonderful. Really wonderful news.
The book you were about to throw into the sea. It was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it?
Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now, so I was saying my final farewell.
You were saying goodbye to law? You? Susato-san? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Miss Susato?
I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and then I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How did you even come to have this, Susie? On the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? To the art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun! I stole Runo's armband.
Yes, please don't do that again, Iris. That band's very important to me.
Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. You didn't notice for ages. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat Flappinator, so I put it up my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it, until I found myself in Mr. Windabank's shop with it later that night.
I see.
And then... Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes!
Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. Right.
After Mr. Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. That door started to play on my mind.
The storeroom door, you mean?
Yes. If Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could only be behind that door. And at that moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know.
So you used the cat Flappinator to make the peephole in the door.
As captured in a photographic print of the shop. By one of Hurley's red-handed recorders.
Indeed, it was of the first importance, that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing.
When I looked through the hole in the door, the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remembered that trial 2 months earlier. The trial of Magnus McGilded.
Oh, wait, that was Ryunosuke.
I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Windabank. Even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing.
You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime.
That's right. But then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony on this case.
What do you mean?
Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of a locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have to be a way to see beyond the door.
Oh. For which a peephole would be the very thing.
Only the peephole I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would know that, so it wouldn't make any difference.
But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it?
So, is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even the police. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong, a criminal offense even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. If Mr. Naruhodo was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape, the truth about the peephole could save him. That was my plan.
She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Oh. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene. So Mr. Sato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake, and Miss Lestrade's. Miss Susato.
The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I'd lost a little of my faith in the law.
Oh.
I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime. But the moment I allowed myself to think that, it's the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant.
What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand, using that peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the peephole inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Miss Susato, what you did saved Gina's life.
Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo, you've saved me too from my regrets.
Well, we must all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured. Yes, exactly. Although some of the loose ends in that trial will continue to play on my mind, I'm sure.
But the revelation that the music box disc contains secret messages, Mr. Naruhodo. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration.
Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was.
Oh, it wasn't?
There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see, a telegraph operator. And she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect. After all, we are talking about secret government communications. No doubt they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood should they have been intercepted. In cipher? I see. So then we could never have hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pipe problem, I assure you. Huh? Eh? Sogi? What?
Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Hello? Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you?
Mean something? Asogi was the name of my best friend.
What? But how? How do you know that name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box.
Oh, brother. She transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius.
I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whatever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see. There's more than one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added to Morse code to use it in their own languages.
I don't believe it. Are you saying...
That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before. But I think it's based on the Iroha pentagram, isn't it?
And you mean to say that in Japanese Morse code the message says asogi?
Yes, I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that?
Ms. Susato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code?
Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever more important for international communications.
Then might I recommend, my dear madame, that you focus your efforts on the English version.
Be that as it may, Iris, show us the message. Show me the message, please. Of course. But what can this possibly mean?
Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes, it's made the color drain from Susato-san's face.
There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code.
So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications?
I don't understand the reason why, but the message appears to be a list of 4 people's names.
4 names?
The first is Kei Asogi.
Definitely Kazuma. Oh man, we've known for so long that Kazuma had some sort of secret mission. What the hell? Kazuma Asogi? Why? Why was his name on that disc?
The second is A. Shin.
Shin? I don't recognize that name.
The third is T. Goregusan.
That's English. English for Gregson, Tobias Gregson. A. Shin. A. Shin. A. Shin. What is that? Gregson. It would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list. And what's his name doing in a secret government communication as well?
And the last name...
What's the matter, Miss Susato?
It's just so strange, so unexpected. Oh, what is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson.
Oh.
What?
Wilson?
John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then, after the 4 names it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message, or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris.
I just can't believe it. Who would have ever thought that those discs contain Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of some disturbingly familiar names. It would appear that this particular message is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan.
So, Daddy could be in Japan then, where Susie and Bruno came from. Oh, well... no. It's not very likely, really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them.
Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. But we can't tell Iris about that now. We just can't. This is so strange. Somehow, in solving the case of Mr. Windibank's murder today, I feel like I've just rolled back a boulder at the mouth of a very dark cave.
I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh dear, the ship is going to set sail soon.
Yes, it seems so.
I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dunkirk in France. Then I'll change onto a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie?
We wish you a safe passage, Miss Susato.
Thank you so much. I wish all of you the very best.
Miss Susato, I had hoped to have you always at my side, to guide me and support me.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Please, come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world.
I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. A promise? About your manuscript.
Oh yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes?
Do you remember the first time we met?
Yes, of course. On the SS Burya, when I was dragged out from that wardrobe still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin with a Susato takedown.
You know very well what I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-sama's great legacy.
Miss Susato.
And my instincts were right. I really want to believe. No, I'm sure that I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
Oh man, I forgot anime was a
We seem
thing.
to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead.
He said it!
Of course there will.
He said the thing!
But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
Well, ain't that sweet. Huh? Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, Mr. Sholmes?
I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently.
Huh? It caused such a commotion on the line. All the other trains had to wait at stations.
But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. Anyway, I explained everything and how it was all your fault.
Huh? Huh?
I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow. But not to worry, my dear fellow. According to Miss Susato...
You love defending yourself in court. Huh? 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 It's alright. I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes? Yes? A word, if you don't mind. Why, certainly, any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. On three, everyone. Oh yes, I love Runo's words, and I know just the one he'll use here. Yep. Then I really must say...
Objection!
Oh man, what a great game this is. Overall, as a complete package, I wouldn't say that the highs... Oh, in the following weeks, hundreds of music boxes arrived at Baker Street from all over Europe. Something was afoot, though it transpired I had ordered them all myself. So I advertised them for sale with "used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case." And the money I've earned consulting detective work pays a pittance by comparison. I suppose I should wait to share my thoughts until after these credits roll. Oh, I haven't slept a wink. The Miss Manuscript is due tomorrow now. When I'm this busy, Hurley usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement for some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfasts. Poor Iris. The things she has to put up with. Witness, your testimony is riddled with contradictions. Exactly. Rarely do rare Koban coins hide under rare stakes themselves. Well, I don't know. Doesn't know his father is an innocent man. Or are you calling my son a liar? Witnesses, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments. Oh, this is my real final boss, remembering all these friggin' voices I've done. Oh boy. Having delivered the Russian dancer to shore in Shanghai, I laid low on the steamship for a while. But last night I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board. I've done nothing wrong! All I did was give Ragahai's offspring refuge. A man brings some kids on board and suddenly he's a hardened criminal. That's not fair! Oh, that's precious! Oh, that's great! Oh. Wow. Scientific investigation will be the gold standard for policing in the new age. I dream of a world governed by the tenets of order and discipline. Like a great clock, in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 37 seconds until my next appointment. We'll see more of you next game, I swear it. This conspiracy goes to the top! The latest Rands magazine is out, and I'm in it again. Whenever I say that one line she wrote now, I get a standing ovation. Want to hear it? Humph, not bad, I suppose, for an amateur. Glug, glug, glug. Ha! Her ladyship puts me to shame. Been visiting the old girl on a daily basis, of course. Joni, my old jailbird. Must say, battling with those bally stares every day has done wonders for the dicky peg. What? Managing rather well with the housework, too. Got this maid business taped up, I'd say. Hope the gossiping neighbors don't realize the man of the house is his own maid. What? Dicking Peg? Huh? What? Okay. My Rolly is back on the beat again, all thanks to the Reaper. There's nothing more I enjoy these days than hunting out small change in the gutter. I'm a better Bobby now, looking out for Londoners their drop-top pennies than my lovely wife. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Looks like I'm gonna be doing time for a bit now. But Iris comes every day for a matter, so it ain't too boring. She's always going on about all them cases what Sholmes is looking into. Criminal investigations are kind of interesting when you get into them. Maybe that could be our new line of work. An investigator. I kind of hope we see her in the next game. Gina, I mean. Yes, I renounced my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime, but regrets? Please. Give over, bruv. That ain't the Ash we used to know. We got time in here to plan the comeback of Milverton and Skulkin's milk run, right? The Three Muska Whatsits. Milking the neighborhood for all it's worth. This past 6 months has been a time I shall remember forevermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life is all about. Naruhodo-san, I promise, your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish that life will treat you well. Oh? I thought we were gonna zoom on the Dharma and fill in that eye. Bravo! Ooh. What is this? Dude? I am having the weirdest feelings right now. This composition of characters walking to the left while scenes from the gameplays. This is exactly like the credits of another game by Capcom. Okami. And as it happens, Okami's my favorite game of all time. Why is this so much like Okami's credits? The hell? Wow, I'm feeling things. The frick? Well, I guess there's nothing stopping me from saying my thoughts. So overall, in terms of quality, this game never reached the highest highs of other entries in the Ace Attorney franchise, but it was consistent. I didn't feel like there was a single part of this game that dragged. Everything felt great. Just great the whole way through. It wasn't a high, it was consistent, pretty high. This is a high elevation game. And boy, there are a ton of characters who have just stolen my heart. Ryunosuke, he's a great protagonist. I've only spent one single game with him, but I like him way more than I ever enjoyed Phoenix. Phoenix was always kind of an impersonal character. Like, you got a bit into his head when he was feeling sad about Edgeworth and the Fays, but it never really plumbed the depths of his emotions in the way they did Ryunosuke here. Ryunosuke feels like such a more compelling, more fully realized character, and not just the vehicle for which this game rides on.
And then there are so many other bros. Hosonaga is a G. I love him. Hosonagas the best, and I sincerely hope we see more of him in the next game. Susato's great. Herlock Sholmes is his lovely eccentricity, strangeness. And the jurors. The jurors are also memorable. And it was like, oh my god, they're on the stand? Oh jeez. Yeah, and McGilded's so fascinating. I love how, even though this is the fresh start of a new little side franchise here, it's like this is a spin-off within the Ace Attorney franchise, it wasn't afraid to buck tradition so well. Man, having McGilded actually be guilty in that first real trial for Ryunosuke, man. I feel like every Ace Attorney game has at least one moment where I'm like, okay, come on. Come on, that was stupid. And yes, I had one, maybe two moments in this game, but it was just one or two. Usually there's a lot more in all the others. Everything made sense. Even if they had to go to extreme lengths to make everything make sense, you know? Like just how... like, when you really sit down and think about all the events that happened in this last trial, it's just ridiculous. And as I'm sitting here looking back on the game and everything that happened, I am filled with the overwhelming feeling that this game was made from the start intentionally to be a part one of a larger story. They have more than laid the seeds for a future story. No, they have fertilized this earth. They are ready for something big. Kazuma's secret mission, the betrayal that Van Zieks suffered, and a few other details that are slipping my mind at the moment. Oh yeah. Oh my god, the next game is probably going to be huge and amazing, isn't it? I'm so excited. Wow. Bravo, Capcom. Bravo, everyone who worked on this game. Well done. Neat. Oh, my heart. Kazuma, you're so cool. Ryunosuke wishes he could be half as cool as Kazuma. Well, wow. What a great time. So, of course, we're hardly done here. This may be the end of one story, but there are plenty more to see. Before we touch that second game, there are the side stories. Let's see here. In special contents. Let's look. Escapades. Short extra episodes. Let's see, there's 8. Cool. I have no idea how long they're supposed to be, but I sure look forward to seeing them. But that'll be next time. For now, I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.